Okay, good. So, oh, this site does not exist. So let's just Google search. It's code.visualstudio.com. This is the ID I'm using on my local computer. You can set that up. That is why I have Discord here, where you can ask your questions on Discord, and I'll try to answer them. So if you want to do your development in your local environment, you need the VS Code. But for this purpose of tutorials, we are going to be doing everything we want to do in FluteLab. Okay, so what did we look at yesterday? We started Dart programming, and we looked at variables. We looked at, let's see, we looked at variables. We looked at operators, where you have arithmetic operators, logical operators, and the likes. And then we looked at control flow a bit, where we did while and for loop. And I sort of gave you folks an assignment, so I'm not too sure if someone has done it. So if you have, it would be nice to just drop that in the comments. So, but today we are going to look at lists. So we are using this tutorial to actually learn Dart programming. So I'm going to drop a link to the tutorial in the chat so you can also follow. And we stopped at this follow. And then I said I want to look at collection and lists, because this is very important for you to know in Flutter, because you'll be working a lot with lists and collection. So I explained it yesterday that at some point you might have a container like this, and then you need a list of items here. So you need to know, how do you work with a list? So let's look at the meaning of what a list is here. So they say they are similar to arrays in other languages, and this might look confusing, but let's wait a bit. You can use them to maintain an ordered list of values. List of zero base. So think of a list as a collection of items of related types. So let's look at it now. So let's go here. So let's say we have, can I delete this? Before I continue, I want to make sure you folks are following. Are you following? If you're following, please write in the chat. Are you following? I hope. Oh, great. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay. So, so let's say we have these guys. We have a word cloud. Let's just say we have a word cloud. Let's delete all this. Give me a minute. Okay. We have a word cloud like this. And let's have another one. Let's have shoe. Let's have another one. Right. Okay. So now let's have container like this. And then we say this is a container of foods. Now, we have this list of items. We have these items here. So if you are going to sort these items by a container of foods, it will mean that you need to put oranges here, mango, and probably rice, right? So you can say that, oh, let's have another collection. And let's say we have, and we say a collection or a container, a collection of fruits. That would mean that oranges and mangoes go here and rice remain here. Let's call this crocs. And then let's have another collection and we call it a collection of shoes. So that means that these crocs will go in here. So you see what I've done? Okay, so this is, we can look at this and see this is a list of fruits. This is a list of fruits. This is a collection of fruits. So that's the idea of list. So list exists. Sorry. List exists because you want to, let's get rid of that. List exists because you want to have items of related types in the same place. Now, remember type. We did something called data type yesterday. We did int, we did variable. What else did we do? We did Boolean. We did double. So we call these data types because it tells us the type of variable. We didn't do it's not part of it, so let's delete. We did int, Boolean, double. What else did we do yesterday? I don't remember. Okay, we did string. Yeah, sure. It is string. Okay. So now a list sort of tells you that this is a collection. So you can say that this collection, this container should only take integer values. Like this now, we say this is a collection of shoes. So it doesn't make sense that oranges enters here because that's a mess. So now look at list that way. So now it's important because at some point in your code, you'll be grouping items together and you'll be manipulating the items. So in fact, the mobile app that we are going to build here, we are going to be building something like a shopping list. We're going to be building an app like a shopping list app. So let's say you want to go to the market, you can just pull out the app and then list all the items that you want to buy at the supermarket. And then when you get to the supermarket, you can always check if an item has been bought, and you can check that as done. And then you continue with what you are doing. So, so basically that's list for you. So now you can see that. So now they said list as zero based. So let's go back here and let's say we have another fruit here and let's say bananas. And then we say a fruit like pawpaw. And let's put all these ones here. Okay, so now when you want to work with this list, you know, when you want to count the items in this list, you start from the beginning, but the bottom up. And then you say, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you say it's 4, right? Okay, so your compiler does not see it that way. When you want to start working with items in the list, You see this number one, the first one, we call it index. Dictionary starts at 0. 0 is the first item that the compiler understands. So it sees it as 0. This is number 0. And it says this is number 1, this is number 2, and this is number 3. That's how your compiler sees it. So you can say, you can now say, let's call this a collection of fruit. Let's call this container fruits container. Let's call this container fruit container, which makes sense. So I can then say, oh, if I want to get banana, how do I get it? And I can now say, if I pass in the position 0 here, and then print that on my console, and I tell the compiler, give me the item in position 0, the compiler will print out banana. Just banana. Likewise, if I say print out the item in index, that's position, index 1, and I enter 1 here, it's going to print pop-up for me. Same as mangoes, same as 3. So if I say print item at position number 4, because with your human mind, you think that oranges is at number 4. The compiler is going to complain and tell you that it is out of range because there's no item at number 4. So put that in mind, because list starts from 0. The compiler starts 0. So now, how do you create a list in Flutter? So this diagram that I've written here, let's convert that into a code right now. It gets interesting. Are you following? Let me see your comments, please. It's important. I'm going to be dropping some exercises now. And so make sure that everyone is following. Okay, so let's delete our new bank app. We still need to come back to the UBA bank thing. Well, for now, let's delete our UBA bank app. And then what we want to do is convert this into code. So now I said we have a fruit container. So now this is a collection of fruit. How do you tell that to your compiler? So you can say list, that's a keyword. List fruit container equals to, now to create a list, to create a container, you have to use this open, I don't know what it is called, what it's called, it's called. So you can see you are opening a container here. So now I want to add all these items in this container. So orange, so I start from banana, pawpaw, mangoes, oranges. You can see this is the first one. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3. So the first item is banana. So let's add banana. Now you create a string, banana. The next one is what? Mangoes, oranges. Pawpaw, mangoes, oranges. Okay, so basically you have created a list like this. You have created a list. And remember that anything you put in this parenthesis, it is a string. So remember that it's a string. So what you have done here, you have created a string of items here. If you look at it, the compiler will automatically know based on the type that you give to it, but that's by the way. So we are saying that if you want to get banana, what are we going to do? So let's look at it now. So let's write our print, and I can say fruits container, now pass the position. Now, you remember that this is from bottom to up. So when we are putting it from left to right because this is the first item, second, third, fourth. So I want to get the very, and compiler start from 0, right? So you're passing 0. Now, let's print this. What will it give us on the console? It's running. What does it give? It's still loading. It's taking time. Okay. Yeah, it gives banana. Are we correct? So let's say we want to get oranges. What are we supposed to pass? Let me see your comments. What is the index to pass if you want to get oranges? Still waiting. Someone says 3. Another person says 3. Okay. That is good. If you pass in 3, we are going to get oranges. So that's interesting because now you are able to work with lists. Now, if you want to get the total number of items here, now you with your human mind, you can say, oh, there are 4 items here because there are cons in every one here. You can say 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 items. What does the computer know? So let's say you want to get all the items and someone asks you, can you tell me how many fruits is in fruit container? So you can easily pass in a dot length here. So you can do fruit container dot length. So if you do dot length, there are methods that helps you to do a lot of things. So you don't have to write it. You can say dot length, and it's going to give you Control S, so it gives you 4 like this. Now, remember that we did a loop yesterday. So that we printed from 1 to 10. Remember yesterday? Yeah, someone said dot length. You are correct. So you know that we can do, let's say we want to print all the items here. There is one way to do it. You can say print front container, and then we pass in the index. You now do it again. You pass 1. And then you pass 2, and then you pass 3. And then you print. It's going to print every one of it. But it is cumbersome because you have to now be passing. Let's say you have 100 items. Will you now start passing 1 to So how do you do that? You can use, so that's where this one that we did yesterday comes in. You can use for loops. You can use for loops. You can use while that we did yesterday. Wow. Okay. So how do you use this while loop to print all the items in this list? So first we say int I is equals to 0. So that's our counter, something that helps us count. And we now say while I is less than or equals to fruit container dot length. Now you can see what I'm doing here. I'm saying that while this our counter is less than or equals to the length of this fruit container, while it is less than or equals to it, I want you to print all the items in this fruit container. But how do we print it? You can just pass in fruit container and pass in I. So when it's running the loop, it will check, is I less than the length of our fruit container? If yes, it will now pass it as the index, the position of I, because I mimics the position of all these ones. So you now pass it inside. And then remember that we are incrementing I, which is I plus 1. Because for every time it runs, we have to increment it so that it go to 1. If it does that, it go to 2. So let's check if we've written the correct something. Okay, so there's something here, index out of range. Index should be less than 4. So it's because of these and logic that we have written. We have written less than or equals to. So that means when it gets to it's going to run 4 times. Then when it gets here, it will now run again because they are now equal. It will now run, but there is no item that the I is 4 because we have 0, 1, 2, 3. So it's going to throw the 0. So now we can remove this equals to, and then we are going to try it again. Let's see if we get it this time. Yeah, so we don't have any error. So we now have banana, purple, mangoes, oranges. So now there is another way I can write this. Remember how we write this? There is also called for in loop. So let's see if we can check that. Loops, go to loops. On tutorials point, let me just post the link. Yeah. Let's go to loops. We did for loops yesterday. I can't find it. I don't know why. Okay, this is for in loop. I've seen it. Okay, so look at how they are doing it. So this is how you can, instead of using that, you can use for in loop. You can say for this one is going to print it. So for in loop has done all the work for you. But let me comment this out. If you want to comment, you can highlight everything now and press Ctrl K, Ctrl C. So let me show you. Ctrl K plus Ctrl C at the same time. So you will hold down Ctrl K and then you will hold down Ctrl, you now press K and C. So at the same time. So Ctrl K C and you'll be good to go. So let's write this in for in loop. So we can say for, I can use final here, final fruits in fruit container, print fruits. So this plenty talk that we have here, with this line of code, we are going to print it. So it's loading. Yes, you can see we got it right. So what this does is that it's basically doing stuff, this thing, but it makes it shorter for us because we can just say for the item in this list, just print each item basically. But it's important that I went through this one for you because now you are probably a bit confused. And yeah, you will be using this a lot. Or if you're comfortable with this, there are many options in programs. So you're good to go. Okay. Are we following? Yes. So let's continue our Dart. And we are still in lists. Okay. So remember that I said this is a list of fruit container. So now I said a container is like a type. Now let's say we want to create a list of integers. So let's say you have plenty accounts in UBA and you want to put all your account balance in a list. How do you do that? Can I see answers? You want to put all your account balances in a list, and you want to create a list called. So let's have something. Create a list of account balances that you have in UBA. Yes, that's the classwork. I want you to create a list of all the account balances you have in UBA. UBA is a bank. So let's say you have different type of accounts, like 4 to 5 accounts. I want you to create a list that is going to hold all your accounts. So, yeah, I'm waiting for your comments and we can continue. This is the question. Create a list. Am I supposed to do it? Let's create a new quiz. Oh, I have to create an answer. Damn. Okay, let me just drop. So I need you to create a list of account balances that you have in UB. Prince, I can't see all your. Or did you write something more? Who else? Just 2 people. Okay. But you have to have something inside it. Or is it that all of you have 00 account numbers? A whole lot of you people have 0 in the. Okay, interesting. Anthony says he has 30 million. Wow, 30 BG. Okay, so let's see who got it. Interesting. Okay, so we have different answers here. Interesting. Um, Adebayo, you didn't write your answer, so I don't know what you miss. Okay, great. Okay. You don't know the question. The question is to create a list of account balances that you have in UBA. Okay, so let's just go to the answer. Let's see who actually got it. This person says list of account balance equals to new. It's interesting because there's a new keyword in that, but it's not necessary to add it. This person says list double. This is going to be wrong. Anthony's of account balance. Well, I can give you half mark, but them is I can't tell if it's an account balance because there's nothing inside here. So it could be anything. It can accept anything. But please list of this correct. Now you have this. Anthony now got it right. And then you got to no, because there's no var list. And I get what you are trying to do here, but this is another data type in Dart, so this one won't work. And this is correct. Yeah, you forgot the semicolon. And this, well, wrong. Yeah, this is also correct because you use num, which has both double and integer. But okay, so the whole point is that, remember, let's go back. Remember, you have this, and I said anything in a quotation like this is a string. So now I'm asking you to create a list of account balance in UBA. So let's create it now. Here you say list of accounts. Let's just say balance in UBA equals to, we create this. Remember to put your semicolon there. Now, account balances, thinking that you will think of account balances as integers. So you can see that in account balance 1, I have 5,000, 50,000. In account balance, I have 2,300. In account balance 3, I have 6,000. Account balance 8,000, 7,000, and the likes. So it makes sense here, right? So now we have a list of all the account balance. Now I have, so this is how you can do it. This is how you do it. Although your account balances might be in double. So, but let's go with this. I'm going to tell you how you can here, but this now. Okay, so now that we have this, let's say your manager, your oga, you are coding a bank account, and your oga now says, your boss now tells you, okay, so we want to display the the total um, the total, this balance. You want to sum everything up and show the customer. So now, and we know the total of balances you have in UBA. So it's going to solve that for us. So we want to know the total balances. Basically, what it means is that we want to add all of this together to show it, to show the answer. We saw the when we were summing all the numbers. But let's see if you still remember. So I'm giving you as a classwork now. We want to add all this together to give us the total balance that you have in UBA. Let's go. So, wants to go first? I'm hoping that you have Flutter Lab opened on your computer, so you'll be able to play around with it. Somebody sees operation. Interesting. Yeah, of course, you use operations here. Operations as plus, which you want to use to plus all the items here. So, someone is saying for loop. Okay. Any other? Somebody say extension function. From where to where? Oh no. I think I messed up my phone. Okay. Yeah. So let's look at this. Yes. Okay. I think this person might be onto something. Yeah. This person is up to something. And this person also is up to something and is going to be correct. So yeah, so TJ and Adeyinka is going to get it. So let's do the Adeyinka way. We already have something like this. So let's say we would say for balance in UBA, but we need to declare something outside here, and we say and we set it to be 0. And then we can say for every time you get a balance. So you first do this one, then do this one, then do this one, then do this one, then this one. So we now say for every time you get a balance, what you want to do is you should do the total balance equals to the same total balance plus the balance. So we are telling it that every time it's doing that. Now it's giving a problem here because it's saying that value of type num can be assigned to value of int. The reason it's saying is that we have not told it what type it is, so it doesn't understand what it is. So for now, let's set this one as double. And then outside here, we can then total balance. So printing total balance will we get all the balance in your account. Is it 7,000, 17,300? Oh boy, you if I wish. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, you can use 4 and this correct as well. Yeah, good. Okay, so let's just continue. I want to make sure that we start Flutter properly today. So we've talked about lists. Okay, so let's look at some function in a list. And before I go there, I want to also show you that now it's important that you tell, when you're creating a list in Flutter, it's important that you tell the type. Always tell the type. Like this now, you're telling it that anything can. But now you can always tell the type. Look at this now. You should tell the type to be string. That means that it can take anything in quotes. For example, now I said you should do a balance. So we can say all the balance that will come in here are of integer type. So that's why if I do integer back here, you can see it's no longer because I already told you that, oh, all the balance here should be integers. So if I change this one that all the balances should be double. You can see it's crying now because it cannot add all this and set it to be double. So it's important that you set the type of your list. This is one way to do it. Another way you can do it is you can pass the type here as well. But I prefer this because from glance, I can already tell that this is a list of doubles. This is a list of string. I can already tell like that. So that's good. Now there are some methods. Now you can see that in all these, let me comment this out. In all these things that I've done, I've predefined all the items here. What if I want to add another item in future? How do I do that? So let's uncomment this one. I can say I want to print the items in fruit container, and I print fruits. Save that. So it prints all the item. Now let's say later, I now want to add another item here. I want to add another item to my fruit container. How do I do that? So I can do fruit container. It has some method. Remember that we have .length, which gives us the length of the list. We can also say .add. When you do .add, it will ask you that what do you want to add? So because this is a list of string, it is important that you add a string. So let's say we are adding guava, which is another type of fruit. And then we save here. It's going to run through the loop again. We have guava here, you see. So let's say along the line, we say, we want to remove banana from the list because banana is showing here. I don't want it. Maybe let's do something. Let's say this balance in UBA, you now close the account that has 2,300. Then you went to the bank and said, I'm angry. I want to close this account. Maybe it's UBA Savers 2. I want to close this account. What we are going to do is we are going to look at this list and we are going to remove. What am I removing? I'm removing the balance here, 2,300. And let's print all the balances. Balance in UBA, and I want to print the balance. And then when I print it out, you will see that it will remove 2,300 there. And I'll be left with 50,000, 6,000, 8,000, 7,000. You see, there's no longer 2, 3 there. So you can see the way you can add and remove to a list. Cool. Someone says it's .append. Okay. So another way you can also add is, let's say I want to add something to another is you can create a new array. There's something called spread operator. You can do this spread operator and then comma. Then let's say I want to add 4,000 to the account. If I do like this, it's going to add 4,000 to this account. So let's see. You see, it adds it. There are times where you will need the spread operator. If you want to create a new type of array, if you want to duplicate array, that's how to do it. But for now, it's not really important to you, but have that at the back of your mind. Okay, so let's continue. So they already so we already did how to print all the stuff in an array. Okay, so then we can go to maps. You can go to maps. So let's talk about maps. So map is like an array, but it has a pair of value. You can tell what is inside it has a key value type. You can tell what it's inside. So let's go to one of the answers that you gave. So Mohammed has this, which is quite interesting. You can see that is the other time, you can see that when we have a list, I said we should get all the lists, all the balances in UBA. Now you can't tell what balance this is. You don't know if it belongs to savers, if this belongs to a type of account, if this your savings, if this your account. You get. So you cannot tell like this. So now that's what Mohammed was trying to do. He was thinking that, oh, I have to tell what type it is, what is the key and the value. So instead of using an array for this, that's where map comes in. So if you look at a map, this is how to create a map. So now let's recreate this balance in UBA in a map instead. So we can say balance in UBA. And let's comment this one out. So now this is how to create a map. You will do map and then do this less than or greater than. Inside there, you have to tell what type it is. So this is the key, this is the value. You are saying the key should be a string and the value should be an integer. That means the name of the account in your UBA is a string because it's a name. A string can be name of anything, animal, place, or thing. And then, but the type, the balance itself, it's an integer. So, and then you give it a name, a variable, and then you say equals to, you open brackets, you close brackets. Now, when you now want to fill in the value, you will now say a string, this is the string, this is the value, this is the key, savings account. Let's say we have savings account. What is the value in savings account? We have 50,000, right? Which is this one.
One sec. Okay, I found this on the web.
Siri is talking. So let's say you have current account. What is the value in current account? 2,300. Let's say we have another account, UBA Savers. You have 6,000. And you have another account, UBA for children. You're saving for your children. And you have 8,000. And then you have another account, you say UBA mortgage. And say it's 7,000. Now you can see that you can easily tell. You can easily tell looking at this that, oh, this is my saving. The amount in my savings is 50,000. The amount in my current, you can easily tell, but you cannot tell with this because it's like this. Let's get this out of here. So that's how to create a map. So you'll be needing map a lot because when you start working with API, you are a mobile developer. You will be needing backend are the ones that used to write the code for um, Sorry, I didn't see the question. So, but let's continue. So you build a mobile app, and in a lot of time, you will need a backend developer, and a backend developer will be the one that will write all the services that you're going to be using, and the way they are going to be sending it to you, it will look like something like this, something like this. We call it JSON, 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 like this, the son of J. So we call it JSON object. So you'll be working with these sort of things a lot. In fact, if you are working on that back app and your backend developer wants to give you, say, when you call a customer, you want to see all the accounts in his he has, there's a high chance that this is how it's going to give it to you, so that you now show the user that your savings account has 5,000, 50,000, your current account has 2,300. There's a big chance this, so you'll be needing this, and you'll be working with it a lot, because when you get the JSON, you now create a map out of the like this, so that you'll be able to use it in your app. Are you following? I hope you are following. Right. Um, Anytime it gets boring, let me know. Or is it still interesting? I think that we don't have the participation we have yesterday. So I'm wondering, maybe I've been I've not been teaching very well or not. But yeah. Okay. Thank you. Great. So that is how to create a map. You see, you surround it with a colibris and use a comma to separate each one. Great. So, how do you? So, let's say we want to print the value. So, now you want to show the user the value of the savings. And you say, give me savings account. So, how do you do that? So, you will say, balance in UBA. You will now pass in the key. So you pass in savings like this. You can see that I did this the way we used to do it in array, but you now pass the key, which is this one. You know that this is a key, this is the value. Give me the value of savings. This is what I did here. And when I save that, I should be getting 50,000 in, yeah. So you have shown the user. So the user is saying that what's my balance in my savings account? Bam. I've done that here. But here, if you are using a list here and the user says, what's my balance in my savings account? Then you'll be confused because you don't know which one is a 50,000 or not. Yay. And so you can, so let's say you want to add to this map, Let's say this is what you get. This is what you got from the backend, but for some reason the user created a new account on the app and you want to add it to this map. So how do you add to a map? There are methods you can use to add to a map, but the best way is you can put the variable here and say, and put a key and say you have you can say a new account, which is Libre Premium, and you need to set the balance. Say new UBA Premium is equals to 9,000, like this. So let's print this, and you will see that we should have 9,000. You see, you have 9,000. So this is to add, we have added this into the map. So that's how to do it. That's how to add an element to a map. Okay, so I'm going to stop here for the map. Oh, sorry. Give me a minute. Yeah, I'm back. I think it's my phone, and I didn't bring something. Thank you. Oh, I've told you guys to do a crowdfund. Okay, so now we are going to functions because you are going to be writing a lot of functions. A lot of functions. So, what do you mean by function? So, function lets you package multiple related line of code into a single body. You can then summon the function to avoid repeating those lines of code. That's basically function. So let's see. So how to create a function. There are two, a function consists of the following elements. It has a return type, it has a function name, it has a parameter, and it has a function body. So let's look at this. So remember that let's comment this and let's have this. Remember that when I was explaining the other time about lists, and I want to print the elements of a list, and I already have for this one for um, final fruits in fruit container, and I have print fruits. Okay, so remember that I had this the other time. And each time, let's say I wanted to print all the stuff in balance in UB, I have to change all this one by one. If I had a function that is going to do this thing for me, so instead of doing repeating and trying to do stuff like this, I I can easily do that with a function because a function helps me to avoid repeating all those lines of code. So if you want to take an action, you are going to be creating function. And how do you create a function? A function has a type. A function has a name, and a function has something they call parameter type and parameter name. So let's look at this now. I can say, so if I want to create a function, I can say bool. I can say bool. So this is the type of the function. I can now say, I can now give it a name and say print list value. So when you give it the function name, you create this open and close, and then you make a parenthesis, open and close bracket. Now, when you give it a type like this, you have to use something like a return. It has to return that type. For example, when you give it this type of bool, it has to return maybe a bool. If you give it a string, for example, it has to return a string here. For example, I've given a string. So you see that it does not give error again. So if you don't want it to return, you will just set the function as a void function. That means you're telling it that, oh, don't return anything. So now let's move this for loop and let's move it here. Let's move it here. So now let's save. Um, okay. So so now we want to change this list now, and what I want to do is I want to put T here, and I want to give it a list of items. Can I do like this? No. So let me make it dynamic. Okay. So what I've done here is I've written a function that anytime I call it, is going to take in a list of items and it's going to print all the items there. So now I want to move this function out of the main. Remember that I said anything inside the main will be evaluated. So I want to move it outside here. So let's see if I can use this inside here. So print list of value. So let's say I want to get all the things inside balance in UBA. I just pass it inside here. That is how to use a function. And when I save, let's see. You see, it prints all the items. So instead of doing a for loop again to print all the item in fruit container, I can say print list value. I will just pass in the list here and just save. And you see, it prints the list of value in balance in UBA and also prints list value in fruit container. And it has printed it like this. So that is how to use a function in Flutter, in Dart. So don't worry, when we start entering Flutter, you now understand why we need functions the most. There are optional parameters. I think you can go ahead and read that. And then we have anonymous functions and the likes. So I think I'm going to stop here in Dart, and then we can go to Flutter proper. But make sure that you read this. I'm going to drop the link. Make sure that you read that properly. Yeah, that's why I added dynamic so that it will take in any type. I can also do a list like this and it will work. I can say a list of dynamic because I don't know the type. I can say list of dynamic and it's still going to work. But I can annotate this as T or that string. Yeah. Okay. So now we have come to the end of that. Yay. So we can go to Flutter directly now. Are you excited? Now we can build stuff. I know that this is what everyone is waiting for. But with this understanding of that, you'll be able to write Flutter now. This is where it gets interesting, where you'll be changing things and you'll be seeing it on your code. So, who is excited? They want to build a low word. That's good. Okay. But I'm going to let me leave the link in our Discord so that you don't miss that. So let me leave it in this channel of tutorial. I'm going to leave tutorials point 2. At some point, we are going to be referencing this and some of the things we have taught to grab it again. But yeah, programming is fun. It can give you a lot of headaches, but it's fun. Okay, so let's go ahead. And I want to go back to my dashboard on Flute Lab. How do I do that? Okay, yes, I go back to my workspace. So let's create a new project and call it Bootcamp Projects. And we are going to set this stateless hello. And we go ahead and create Bootcamp project. I open the Bootcamp projects and it's going to load all this stuff for me. I'm checking something. If you have Flutter installed on your computer, especially in VS Code, you can go to this command palette and there's a command, Flutter new project. You select the application and you select a folder and you can call it any name you want. You can say Bootcamp project. This is building it on your local and it's going to start creating for you. Also, you can go to flutter.dev if you want to see how to, there's a command to create that. So let's get started. And then make sure to install Flutter on your computer, please. I also have a YouTube channel. So let's go to that YouTube channel. I think I have a video on installing Flutter on your computer. So I'm going to drop the link to that. Let's see. This has 11,000 views. Let's copy this link address and I'm going to drop it here. Let me drop it on Discord so that you can always find it on Discord. That is that. Also, I have another one here. That's out, but it's for Mac. So if you are not using Mac, you are on your own. You are on your own. Sorry. But there are a lot of tutorials online on how to install Flutter on your machine. You can just grab a YouTube video and you're good to go. So this is the one. So these two videos will show you how to install Flutter on your machine, which is good. If you don't have big machines, you can still use Flute Lab to play around. Okay, so we have the project. Just make sure you run it. Make sure web is selected and it will be building. And let's go. And we are going to just dive into the Flutter project structure. I'm going to look at all the building blocks that make a Flutter project and make you familiar with all the folders in a project. And then we now start working with your UI. We start building simple UIs in Flutter. It may make you, if you have not done that before, you will start enjoying it, start playing around with it. You see that you are building stuff. You say, wow, I'm building stuff in Flutter. You can always check other ones, please. Okay. Uh, we have 74 people on this server. Nice. It's quite strange that we have over 400 people signed, close to 400 people sign up for this class, and we barely get 20 participants. I guess that's life. But so I'm running this and it's still building all this stuff. Because when it's finished building, you see it can take a while, but for your first build. But for my local one, this one is building sharp sharp. So I'm going to start my iOS emulator. So if you have a Mac, you will be able to have an iOS emulator, simulator. But if it's you are on Windows or Linux, you can only do see Android emulator. So what does that tell you? Go and look for money for Mac. I guess. But you can still build. Luckily, if you are using this platform, you can actually build for iOS. You can see iOS debug. So, but I've used this platform to do serious development. All my serious development has been done locally. So maybe finally you get a Mac. I'm Apple's ambassador. So you need to get a Mac. Okay. So we have a simulator like this. Let me run this project on a simulator. This is local. While Flute Lab is continuing to shame their ancestors and not me. Let's do auto reload. Let's see. I don't know why it's not working. And I don't want to use my local one to build, to teach. I guess, let's see. Wow. What's wrong with this guy? Okay, we have an empty space now. Please build. Okay, see, the local one is so fast that it has finished building. Okay, so when it has finished building, you will see something like this, which this guy is still loading. You have a simple app like this. It's so this comes with Flutter, and you can hit the button as many times as possible. So there's a function, thank God you know function, and there's a function that has been hooked with this button here, that anytime you click it, it increases this number, as you can see. So now let's go into what you will see when you create a new project in Flutter. Let's start from the beginning. So there's something called readme.md. It just tells you the description of the Flutter project that you have created. No big deal, nothing. It's just there. It doesn't do anything. Great. Now there's another file called prospect.yaml file. So let's talk about this prospect.yaml file. So this prospect.yaml file, it's YAML. I call it YAML. I don't know what other people call it. YAML file is a configuration file for your project. So you can see that the name of the project that we wrote there, you can see it's here. It automatically generates this file for you. The description is there. You can always change the description. You can forget about this for now. Now, there's a version here. When you download on the Play Store, let's say we go to Play Store. I built this app, by the way. I think that's 3.5 star, but that's 10K downloads. So let's go down. Um, can I see it? No. Okay, so I'm trying to see how to explain that. Let's see details. It's not there. Mm, okay, so when you go on Play Store, when you go on your Play Store on your phone, there's a chance that you will see the version number, the version on your of the app that you want to download on on the Play Store. Or you have been using an app and especially WhatsApp, and they tell you that, oh, you need a new version of this app on the Play Store, right? You have seen that scenario before. They can tell you that you need a new version. Give me a minute. Okay, can you hear me? Sorry. Hello? Yeah, okay. So there's a chance they'll tell you that you need a new version of this app, especially if you have been using WhatsApp. And so how do they tell you the version? It's from this configuration file here. You can set the version. You can say this version is 2.0. The version code is so. So this is where we set it. This is where we set the version in Flutter, which is cool. Let's go back. Flutter is here. Flutter does not have things like I have here. This one, but we can. It's almost the same thing. See, look at our prospect YAML file. You can see that it's the same as the one I've created. We have the version number 2. We see version here. Now there is this environment, and there's an SDK. So remember that you were learning Dart recently, that I was teaching you Dart. Because Flutter is powered by Dart, you have to set the Dart version that you are using, the Dart SDK version that you are using. But it already set it for us. So if you are using, look at the version of Flutter we are using. We are using Flutter 3.0, which is the current. So you can switch to 3.3, which is the latest. And it will automatically use, you can see this is version 3.0.0. That version we are using is 2.1.2. And then there's these dependencies. You see these dependencies, your parts, you're going to be using it a lot because you are going to be using external plugins that people have written. So for every framework, people sit down and say, oh, we want to make people's life easier. So we are going to be writing plugins that will help people build faster. So because Flutter is an open source community, there are people like me and you that write dependencies. We call it packages. So anytime you want to use a dependency, you have to add the dependency here. So let's see how to do that. So let's go to, there's a community site that is dedicated for dependencies in Flutter, and we call it pub, where they used to drink, where they used to drink alcohol or drinks generally, but pub.dev. When you hit pub.dev, let me drop the link. It's going to open. Oh, okay. I dropped the wrong link. Let me copy that again. So if you go to pub.dev, it's a place where you can search for packages. Look at it. It's the official repository for Dart and Flutter apps. So people can just wake up and publish packages here. So let's look at some of these packages. Look at this geolocator now. So let's say you know that there are some app that you want to use, like Bolt or Uber. Now Uber needs to know your location, right? So that they will be able to um, give you the ride correctly to your location. So if you are trying to build an Uber type of app, for example, this is a plugin that can get your location. You just install this plugin, you look at the example code, and you do it exactly like this, and it will get you the location. So somebody has written it. Look at the author here. This is the author. This is the publisher, baseflow.com, that's created this. So if someone tells me I want to get the location of the user, I don't need to go and create this again. I'll just come to pub.dev and look for, I can search here. I can say location, for example. Now we see a lot of apps here. You see, there's another, see, aside from this one, there's another app here that allows you and do real-time location. You can see there are a couple of ones. So the way I can choose a package is I look at the number of likes that it has. This one has a lot of likes because it looks like people are using it a lot. And then I'm going to see if it's being maintained. Are people using it? Look at it, it's a Flutter favorite. So people are actually using it. So let's say I want to use this one. How do you install it? You can see there's a tab here. They said installing. You can install it via a command or dependency. You add a line to your package pubspec.yaml file and put it in the dependency. Remember dependency? Yeah, dependency. You get it? Okay, so they are saying that you can add. So all I have to just do is I copy this line and put it here in my dependency. And when I save, it will try to install that dependency to install it. So same thing in my local, I just add it here and it installs that dependency for me and I can use it in my mobile app. So that's basically the dependency part of your Flutter application. So this same thing is your also your dev dependency. So it's good for packages that helps with your development. So it's not really like a feature in your app, but it helps you with your development, makes your development time faster. So dependencies here are usually feature-wise dependencies, but these ones are dependencies that has no feature in your app, but they help you to with your development process. They make it faster or better. That's why you can have a package like Flutter Test that helps you test your Flutter apps. So it's not like it's adding a value directly into your app, but it helps. Yeah, following me? Great. And then if you go down a bit, there's a section that is specific to Flutter. So there are sections here that are commented out. When we get to that part, you will see how we use it. But if you want to add assets to your app, like you want to add font, you want to add image, you want to add video, anything assets, graphic assets, it will come into this assets. You have to uncomment this part out and add the assets. I will show you how to do that later. So there's a part for fonts here too. Let's say you want to add a font, you define a font and you define the font. We talk about how to define fonts too in future. So that is basically all in the prospect.yaml file. Following? Great. So we have less than 30 minutes to go. So let's make good use of this. Okay. So let's look here. There's an analysis options.yaml file. You will not need this file for now, but if you get familiar with Flutter, and then there's something we call linting. You can see that as we were typing, look at it now. There are errors here. It's not like real error. If it's error, it will be green. But these are just warnings. They're just telling you, they're just telling you you should prefer a way to the other. And it's because of this analysis option. You can tell which rule you want to enforce. So that means that this helps you when you or more people are coding on the same project and you want to enforce rules within all of you. So you can tell which rule you want to enforce. So you may not worry much about this. So for every, remember that I told you that Flutter runs multiple platform, right? So for every platform that Flutter runs on, if it's supported in your project, you will always see the platform. So let's go to our local ones that we created. You can see that you have a folder called Windows. You have a folder called Web. You have a folder called Mac OS. You have a folder called Linux. I have a folder that is iOS. I have a folder that is Android. So apparently, this app that I'm building can be supported on Android, iOS, Linux, macOS, web, Windows. Phew, that is crazy, right? That's crazy, right? Let me show you one of the apps that I'm playing around with so you can see. So this, I'm going to run this app on the macOS desktop. So basically, I'm building a macOS desktop app. So let me run it. Okay, so you can see this basically just runs on a macOS with Flutter. So I'm building a Mac OS app like this. So not necessarily Android, iOS. So you see the power that it gives you, right? Gives you that much power. But let me close it. At the same time, I can run this thing on the web. So let me set I want to run it on Chrome. You know, I ran it on macOS and it ran. Let me run it on Chrome. It's waiting for Chrome. Let's see. You see, it's running on Chrome. You can see localhost. I'm going to wait for it for a bit. So it gets. Yeah, so it's running on Chrome. This is on the web. Good. You see. Let's run it on iPhone 14 Pro Max and we will see. You know that it has been running on bigger screen since. Let's run it on iPhone 14 Pro Max. I'm not done with the app. Let's see. It's still launching. And actually, I want to show you an app that I'm actually building. It's an app so you know that people have local book clubs around their area. So I'm building an app that we have online book clubs. So now I am an introvert. I don't want to go out, but I'd like to join book clubs online. So I'm building an app where you can have your meetings online. You'll be reading a book, everybody. So let's say I create an online meeting like this. Um, okay, so it's running on iPhone 14 Pro Max, so which is great. So let me run that project. I'm not done yet, but you should be able to see what's possible. So what I'm building is I want to be able to, because I'm an introvert, I want to be able to join a community online. So if the owner of the club, the creator of the club, maybe we created a club for a book and we are reading a particular book, we can read that book together at the same time, such that the reader of the book can flip to page 2 and every other person's book will also flip to page 2 and we can be reading it together at the same time. So that's what I'm building. Oh, it's been long and long, so there may be a bit of a problem. Okay, so let's see if I can still remember the password. You see, it has sign in with Google. So somebody cannot um cannot sign in. Oh, I put debuggers everywhere. Okay, so this is it. So everybody will have their own club. You can see I built the UI, so I don't have a UI designer. And you can have a live class like this. And I'm not done. So this is supposed to be profile. This is supposed to be a chart. This is supposed to search. This is supposed to be a list of groups. And you can create groups. It's asking which backend I'm using. Okay, give me a minute. I need to switch my internet a bit. Please, can you? I switched down my internet. Hello, can you hear me? Okay, yes. So let me explain. So you have list of club. I'm still building. The backend I'm using is Firebase. Firebase is from Google. I don't have a backend developer, so I can build my own backend with Firebase. It has everything you need. You can use to build charts and the likes. And now, if I click on it, you can see everybody has this is like a club. Everybody has a club. If you are reading a book, you can always type it and say, "Oh, I'm reading this book. This is book." Everybody's, "Oh, interesting book." And they talk a lot of shit. So this is supposed to be a list of books that this club are interested in. You see all their members. You see about the club. Now, now, so the idea is when you start a live club meeting, you can all of you can read the book at the same time. So a lot of talking shits. Let's stop here, and let's go back to our code. So hopefully, at the end of this bootcamp, you'll be able to build stuff like that. Um, and then, so I've talked about all these different platforms that carried me to that site. So there's a folder called Bit folder. You don't need to worry about that. But anytime you run an app on any of these platform, it's going to create like a build folder for you. So now, because you're attending to be a mobile app developer, you are you are going to be working inside this iOS folder and Android folder sometimes because there are some configurations that you need for specific for some device because it works differently. There are different operating systems. So iOS is different from Android. So there might be instructions in packages that you are using or my configuration that you need to do in your Android and iOS. So that is it. Now that brings us to where you'll be working mostly is inside your lib folder. It's inside your lib folder. You see, inside this lib folder. And for every new account that you create, new project that you create, you will have a main.dart. So when you are creating, when you are writing Flutter, any file that you are writing in has to be in .dart. This is the intention. That is, you are writing a that you trying to understand that is the configuration, is where you'll be writing your code. Now, so let's go inside. Let me increase this a bit. Okay. You see, does this look familiar? Void main. It looks familiar, right? Like when you're writing darts. So now this is the main, like the one that we have been writing print since. But now to be able to run Flutter, there's a run app. There's a run app method here that you have to run all your app into inside. So, but for the basis of this tutorial, you have no business touching this. So it is running in my app class. I didn't teach you class in your Dart programming, but along this line of teaching you Flutter, you understand what class is. So, so we have this one running my app. So when you go down a bit, you see my app extend something that they called stateless widgets. So in Flutter, everything you are going to be writing is called widgets. They call it widgets. And let's go to here. So Flutter widgets are built using a framework that take inspiration from React. React people, well done. The central idea is that you build your UI out of widgets. Are you seeing? Widget described what their view should look like. So it is a widget that will allow you to tell how your app should look like, what it should look like. So that's why they say in Flutter, everything is a widget. So like what I showed you the other time, all those create a club, all those things, all those things, they are widgets. So so now we have a run app. So you can see that the run app is running a widget, a center widget. It has a text. We are going to be running all through all these widgets one by one, the ones you'll be using most. And if you run this app, it's supposed to be showing you hello world. So let's go back here. So this is running in my app widget. So when you create a widget, when you want to create a widget, it has to extend a stateless widget or a stateful widget. I'm going to be explaining what a stateless widget is and what a stateful widget is. But I don't think I want to do it now in this class. But I think by tomorrow we'll be able to, because we've started Flutter already, we'll be able to talk about some of these basic widgets that you'll be using to build amazing UIs. It's so easy to build that once you get a hang of it, you'll be like, so this is so easy to build in Flutter. In fact, the simple things to do in Flutter is to build UI. A lot of people know how to do nice UI. The only problem is when they start to add logic, and all of them start to this start to write logic. But everything in Flutter is a widget. So When you run an app, you will see my app here. There's a chance that you will not touch this my app and you will not change the name. But in the base of every Flutter project, you have to return a material app, which they have done here. Look at it now. A material app has all the necessary ingredients. It's like the foundation of every app, of your app. So if you are going to be doing navigations, if you want to color your app, if you want to theme your app, if you want to do light and dark mode, all those things, it's inside this material app. Everything is inside this material. You can see it has something they call theme, where you can set the theme. For example, they say the primary color swatch of our app is blue. So let's run this app. Let me run it. Okay, I can use Fruit Lab anyways. They say the primary color swatch is blue. Let's change it to orange. You will see that all inside our app will change to orange, especially the main headers and stuff. You can see that this background is blue, this color is white. I don't know why this thing is taking time. And I think I changed my internet. It's supposed to be at least better. Yeah, it's loading the back. So apparently it's this side. Okay, somebody is saying asking questions. Yeah. Yeah, you don't need to cram anything. You just understand the concept and how it works. You can always Google it. And yeah, so you can see as I change it, it goes to orange. And the same thing here. If I change this one to like orange, and it's going to change at the same time. Once you hit save, you're going to see it. So I'm going to stop here. Tomorrow we'll now start with what is a stateless widget. Once you understand stateless and stateful widgets, you're good to go. Then we'll now talk all the basic widgets, and then that's day 3, right? Then we'll now start our projects. I will be doing a project with you and be seeing how we can use, be learning together to create it. By the end of the 4th day, we should have been able to finish our little project. And yeah, you should have basic knowledge of Flutter, and you can say anywhere that you know Flutter. And let's see. I want to show you something. So let me share my screen. Let me off my screen. I want to show you something. So this is the end of this class, but I want to show you something. The potential of you learning Flutter. What is the presentation? I'm coming. Give me a minute. I have to look at it. Okay. Okay, so let me share. So I shared this presentation with the folks at Babcock University, and I introduced them to Flutter. So I sort of gave them some of the job opportunities you can see in Flutter. So these are some of the messages I get from recruiters that wants to recruit Flutter developers, and you can see that there's a lot of potential you learning it, because Flutter is pretty much new and a whole lot of companies are getting into it. So that means you need to position yourself that by the time you have 2 years experience, 3 years experience, people will start looking for you. In fact, now people are looking for 3 years experience in Flutter. So this is really a great time to get into knowing this tech skill. Aside from you trying to build um, your future in tech. So you can see this recruiter actually wants to relocate me to Australia to work as a CTO position more of. And this one is telling me that they're offering 144K in base. And this one is saying they are looking for this salary is about 100 to 120K per year. And this one is saying 90. So I have a whole lot of all these offers just because I know Flutter. And it's not like it's not I can say that I try with Flutter, but I'm not the greatest person writing Flutter. There are people doing crazy stuff in Flutter, but I'm just telling you the potential that you have learning a tech, and it's because it spans across multiple devices. So people are now starting writing web apps, web apps that are internal tools in Flutter, for example, and they are looking for developers like this. So I'm going to stop this tutorial here, and yeah, if you have questions, now is the time to ask them. We have about 3 minutes to go. So have questions. And do you enjoy this class? Let me know your comments. And if you have questions, you can ask them. How many hours should you practice? I'm not sure. As many hours as you can. As many hours as you can, TBH. So if you want to do 1 hour, that's good. If you want to do 16 hours and don't want to eat, just there. Cool. So there's a QA. How many hours would you recommend we practice Flutter? Um, so I've answered that. Can you share the PowerPoint with us? I'm not totally sure about that because for Babcock, I know you want to see those money, but sorry. Thank you very much for enjoying this class. Please make sure that you join Discord. It's important that you ask your questions. If you have questions, always buzz me. And thank you very much. He wants to see the money. Okay.